Yes. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's class. So today we'll be looking at the introduction to C# programming. Right. So it is called C#, C# programming. Okay. So let's look at what we'll be covering today. Just want to mention that this C#, our yesterday's class was a bit introduction to automation testing. Right. So today we are looking into introduction to C# programming because our automated test will be written in C# programming language. So we've seen the common tools that we use for automation testing. And the older programming language we'll be using to write this automated test, right, is C# programming. Okay, so we'll be looking at the introduction, some key things you need to know. So at the end of the class, if you are confused or you think you haven't grabbed it very well, you didn't understand it, don't worry, that doesn't mean you can still do your automation, but please pay very attentive. The way we've structured the automation testing is we don't want to jump into automation testing and you feel you've missed the basics, right? So we want to gradually ease everyone into automation testing, and you won't even know. How we want to do is that you wouldn't even know when you start writing automation testing, right? You wouldn't even know. You will feel like it's magic. You're writing automation testing. That is why we've structured it this way. Okay. So now today we're going to touch on certain aspects of C# programming, all right, that you need to know, that you need to understand, okay, to become, be able to look at codes, be able to understand codes, and to be able to read and write code. Okay. Yeah. So let's get started. Let's look at what we'll cover today. So what we'll be covering today is what is C#. Okay. We'll be looking at what C# is. We'll be looking at the types of variables. We'll also be looking at C# data type. Okay, we'll be looking at conditional statements. We'll be looking at what a class is, objects, and method. So I understand that, yeah, yesterday that we shared an automated script. A good number of you, Casey Vicent, was able to identify, some methods, identify class, the constructor, which is good. The access modifiers were there as well. So today you will be looking at understanding different types of what C# is, the type of variables, and what variable is and the type. You understand what data type is. You get to know conditional statements in C# programming. You understand what class is, what an object is, and what methods are. Okay, and we'll be walking you through access modifiers and different types of access modifiers. Okay, so right, let's dive straight into it. So what is C# programming? Right. So C#, okay, programming is,
I think the voice is.
yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, well, yeah, we're hearing Kingsley's voice too on this. I think am I the only one hearing this voice?
Can someone else say I can
Can
see
you?
okay?
You're the only one hearing it too.
Yeah,
Seriously. Oh my
yeah,
God. Let me remove my earpiece. What's happening?
yeah, because I can't hear his voice either. Yeah, can you hear me now? Right. Chidi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Good. So as I was saying, if you look at this, let me get pointer. Let me use a red color to highlight. So what is C#? Okay, what is C#? So it is called C#. It is pronounced as C#. Okay, C# is a modern object-oriented and type-safe programming language. Okay, so I'll take it again. C# is a modern object-oriented and type-safe programming language, right? It is developed by Microsoft and run on .NET framework. Okay, C# enable developers and even testers to test and build many types of secured and robust application. Like I say, it's run on .NET. Okay, C# is used to develop web applications, desktop applications, mobile apps, game, and You can use it for your testing, which we'll be using for our testing. Okay, and so much more. Right. C# has its root from the family of C, from the C family. We have the C, the C++, and so on. Right. And the language is close to other popular language, like I've said, C++, right, and Java. Right. So it's close to Java. Right. So it's close to Java. And like I said, it's used for mobile application, desktop application, web services, websites, games. It can be used for database application as well. So C# has its general syntax. Okay. Each general syntax, we'll look at the syntax. Okay. And we'll go through each one after the other. Right. So you can see the general syntax for C#. Okay. So this is the general syntax for C#. You have using. Can you see the using? So we'll have using. Yep. Let me get another one. Let me see. Yeah. 1 second. So we'll have using. Sorry, I just want to get my pointer. Yeah, let me get another one that is more prominent. Yes, this is what I want. So like I was saying, right, C# has a general syntax, right? We'll go through the C# syntax and what they mean. So we'll have the using. Even when you start writing your automated test, like the one I showed you yesterday, you see, I believe you saw using, right? Using system. We'll go through what using is, right? We'll have what is called the namespace. So on this one, the using is system, and then we have the namespace. Namespace is hello world. We'll have class, and the class is program. We'll have this curly braces, right? We'll tell you what the curly braces is. We'll have static void, main, string egress, and then we'll have console dot, right? Line, hello world, right? So we'll go through what all these things means. Okay, so now let's start from the first line, right? So what does using mean? Right? So using system means that we can use class from the system namespace, right? This line 1, right? It means that you can use class from this system. Okay, you can use class. So once you see using system, you can use classes from the system namespace. Okay, and then after that, you have a blank line. So unlike there are some programming language, right, that blank line means something, or this blank space, not line, this blank space means something. But in C#, right, C# ignores any white space, any blank space, right? Okay, so, and even in C#, it's encouraged to give, when you are writing your C#, you give space, because when you give line, right, it makes your code, instead of writing your code, after, like, let's say you are writing in line 1, after writing in line 1, you're writing in line 2, and so on and so forth. You're not giving space, right? So it makes your code difficult, very difficult to read. Right. So as you can see, there's space between here, which makes it a bit easier to read. You can see the using, then you can see the namespace, right? Hello world. So it makes it much more easier to read. Okay. So now we'll come to the next, to the namespace. Okay. What is namespace used for? Right. So namespace is used to recognize your code. So namespace is used to organize, not recognize. Namespace is used to organize your code, and it is a container for class and other namespace, right? So as you can see, even when you're writing your automated test, the reason why I'm taking this one after the other is that when you start writing your automated test, maybe you will see we'll have loads and loads of code that we're writing, and you'll be like, oh, what is all this, right? So, but by the time we are breaking it down from this C# syntax, when you go in, you see your using, you see your namespace, you can identify your class, you can write your class, all those things will begin to make sense. Okay, it begin to make sense for you, and you will understand it, okay, with ease. All right. So now the next one we want to look at is the curly braces. So this is curly braces. All right. So this curly braces is called curly braces. So as you can see, we'll have the opening and the close. So we'll have this one, opening and closing. Okay. So we'll have opening and closing. I bet you can see the opening and closing, right? So we'll have opening and closing, and then you have this opening and closing, you have opening and closing. So once you open a curly braces, right, you need to close it as well, because these curly braces can cause you a lot of issue. Let's say you open a curly braces and you haven't closed it, right? So that means you haven't ended that block of code. Okay, so as you can see, this is a line of code. You can have 2 line of code here. You can have 3, you can have 4, right? So they become blocks of code. Okay, so curly braces, you use it to mark the beginning and the end of a block of code, right? So once you start a code with in C#, you add, and it's the same with Java as well, right? So you need to add your curly braces. You need to ensure you close it. So as a matter of fact, sometimes when your code is throwing up error, you can see red line. The first thing you need to, because when you start writing your automated test, you will see a lot of this. You will see a lot of it. Sometimes you've opened the curly braces and you haven't closed it, and you'll be wondering. You can spend hours looking for what the problem is without knowing that you've opened a curly braces and you haven't closed it. So you need to ensure that, yeah, all the curly braces you've opened, you've also closed it. Okay, so like I said, it marks the beginning and end of a block of code, right? So you can see this code, right? You can see this namespace was started. The namespace has its own curly braces, and all the class, and the method are in there. So you can also see after the class program, you can also see another, and this ended right here. It ended here, right? You can see. So, and then we'll have another curly braces after the class, program. You can see this one close here. So after this method, you can see another curly braces, right? And, it's closed here. Okay, so once you open, you have to close it, right? So now we'll go into the next line. Okay, line 4, this line where we have the static void main. Okay, so class, right? So yeah, okay. Haven't talked about the class. Okay, now let's talk about the class before we go into this one. All right. So this is class program. Okay, and class is a container for data and method. Class is the container for data and method. Okay, namespace and so for data and methods, all right, which bring functionality to your program. So for example, you can see the class here, right? You can see the class and you can see the program. And under this program, under the class program, you can see your method, okay? And the functionality it brings, this is where you can see the method, you can see the data, like the data we want to print is hello world, right? Or you can call it the string, or what we want to print here. Inside this method is hello world, okay? So they cannot do this without having a class that hosts or that hold it, right? So before you write anything, you write any assign any object, okay, or write any object, okay. Need to have your class, which is a container that holds it. Okay, you need to have your class, which is a container that holds it, okay, and the method comes under, right? So this class is what brings the functionality to your program, right? So every line of code that runs in C# must be inside a class. So that's why in an automated testing, when you want to do something, or let's say you want to, your page object must be inside a class, your feature file must be inside a class. Let's say you want to have like your you want to have your what is it called? You want to store your elements. Okay, you must be inside the class. Let's say you want to write any block of code that you want to use somewhere, it must be inside the class. So that bear that in mind that you always, as soon as your namespace, you need to have a class that it will live inside. Okay, so then we'll now look at, so like I said, another thing that you would always see is main method. Okay, main method is always, you always see it. You can see main, right? You can see this main method. It's common in C#. Okay, you will always see it. And the code, any code that is inside that main method, okay, would always be, okay, around curly braces, right? So it must always be in curly braces. Okay, that is what will be executed. Okay, so as you can see your main, then this is the curly braces. As you can see your main method, right? You can see the curly braces that is inside it. So this, if you run this code now, this is what will execute, which is console.writeLine. Okay, is what will be executed. Then we'll come to what is called the console class. Okay, we'll have the console, right? So console is a class of a system namespace. Okay, so you have your console, you have your WriteLine. We'll also talk what WriteLine is. As you can see, WriteLine is a method. So when you look at one thing that is common with this one is that this main is a method, and you have your brackets open and close. Okay, you can see, and then you have WriteLine as well, which is in this bracket, open and close. Okay, that's what you use to know your method. Okay, so what this console.writeLine is saying is to print what is inside this, right? So when you run this code, what you will see is hello world. That is what will display. Okay, so we'll do all these things. We'll go to our Visual Studio and we'll do it, and you see how it works, right? So one will be asking, how can I use this for my automation testing? Right? You can use it in so many ways because there are sometimes you want to display your results, right? So what you will use to display your result is what? Console.writeLine. Let's say you want to write a code, and once the result is out and you want to print it, you use console.writeLine. That is what console.writeLine is. Okay? So like I said, you use your console.writeLine to what? Print your result. Okay? So is there anything on this code I haven't explained? I think I've covered everything around this, right? So like I said, when you have your console.writeLine, it's used for printing your results. So there is something else I want to touch here before I leave here, okay? And that is commenting code, right? So I just want to touch it, okay? So you use, let's say you don't want to run a particular line of code, right? You don't want to run a particular line of code, or you added comments on this code and say, let's say you've added a comment here and you've said that this code, right? You can see where I'm saying you have a line here and you can say this code is to print hello world, right? And you want to comment it because you don't want it to run. You use double line, single line. Okay, so you do a forward slash. Okay, you use a two single line forward slash. Okay, forward slash to comment it, two forward slash, okay, to comment the code out. And there's a way, because you want to comment just one line, there's also a way to comment a block of code out, but we'll come to that when we go into our C# programming, when we start writing, when we go into Visual Studio. Okay, so the next thing I want to touch is variables. Okay, I want to touch on variables. Variables. So what do we understand by variables? Okay, so variables are used to store and manipulate data in program. Right. So when you think of variables, you use them to store and manipulate data, right? They serve as a named container, or you can say they are containers for storing data values. They hold a specific specific type. Okay, so they hold a specific type of values or specific type of variables, specific types of data, sorry. Okay, so let me take it again. Variables are used to store and manipulate data in a program. Okay, they serve as a named container that holds values of a specific type. Right, so we'll have different kind of variables, right? We'll have different kind of variables and we'll go through them one after the other. So we'll have the int, the int. So when we'll be asking, oh, what these variables, what are we going to use it for? You will use it a lot. Because when you start writing your programming language, you want to know, okay, let's say you want to enter your name in a field, right? But my name that I want to enter, is it what kind of data type is it? If I want to send because when I'm explaining this, I'm bringing it back to our testing. Because one thing is to know how to code or to understand your C#. Another thing is to know how to use it to write codes that would be able to perform what you would do when you are testing manually. So now, if you understand the code, if you understand these data variables, how do you use it? That is why I keep relating it to testing. If I'm relating it to developing something, the way I will explain it will be a bit different, okay, from the way I'm explaining it now. Right. So for example, you want to say in a field, you want to enter your age, and let's say your age is 50. You want to enter your age. What kind of value, right, would I say my age is? So you need to know what kind of value, what kind of data type, okay, your age is, for you to know, the kind of variable that you want to store it in. Okay, like I said, the variables are contained that holds data value. So when you want to store your data in a variable, you need to know what kind of data your data is to enable you to store it in the right variable. If you store it on the right in the wrong variable, it becomes an issue. So that's why you need to pay attention to different kind of variable. And when we get into data types, you also pay attention, okay, so that you know how to store your data, okay, in the right variable. Right. So like I said, we'll have types of variables. We'll have int, we'll have double, we'll have char, we'll have string, and we'll have bool. Okay. So let's look at what the int is. Right. So int stores integers. So integer are whole number. Like this in secondary school, we learned what integer is. So we're taught that integers are what? Whole numbers. Right. So int, right, stores int variables. Int is a type of variables that stores integers or whole number without decimal, right? So it could be 5, it could be 6, it could be 10, it could be 20, so long as it doesn't have any decimal place, right? It mustn't have any decimal place. It could be -5, it could be -10. So long as there's no decimal place, you store it with what? 8. Okay? So now, like I've given you an example like 50, okay? Let's say, for example, you want to store or send your age. You're filling a form and they ask you for your age and you want to send it using an automated test. You'll be using driver.findElements.send keys, right? You want to send the key. That your name, you'll be sending it as an integer. And the variable, if you want to store it, you store it with int. Okay? So that is the essence of knowing this. So we'll have double. We'll have a variable type called double, and double stores floating points number with decimals such as, like 50 points, 55, 50 points, 6 or whatever, so long as it has a decimal place, right? It has points, so that you store it with double, okay? So we'll have the next one, which is char, okay? Char, character, one single word. So it stores single characters, right? So you can see sometimes when you're writing code and you need to enter either A or B or C, right? So it is char. So you'll be writing your code when you're writing automated text. Maybe you want to enter either A, B, C, or D, or E, or F, or Z. So long as they are single character, you store it with char. Okay? So then the next one is string. String. If you pay attention, you must have seen string. Okay, so string stores text. You'll be using string a lot in automated testing. You'll be using int a lot. You'll be using string and bool. Most often, you'll use bool. You'll use your string. Let's say you want to send your name. You want to send your username. You want to store your username in a variable, so you can send it to a field that consumes or that takes, username, right? That your username, you need to store it in string. Okay, you can see the hello world we saw on the C# syntax was stored in a string. Okay, and how do we know it's a string? How do we know it's a string? I need someone to answer me because I've displayed it.
You have like a string normally have like a double, but I don't know whether they call it invited comma, both at the front and the end.
Quotes, double quotes.
Double quotes, yeah.
Yes, that's it. So once you see a data type that is in quotes, right, it is a double quote. It is not a single quote, double quote. It is a string. So string values are surrounded by double quotes. That's how you know it's a string. Okay, so when you are sending your name, right, let's say you are automating a login functionality, all right, and you need to send your name, you need to send your surname, you need to send your last name, you need to send your email, you need to send your username, you need to send your password, so you store it in a string, depending on how your password is. You store it in a string, okay, and how you do that is surrounded by what? Double quotes. Okay, then the last one we'll use a lot, especially when you are asserting, when you are doing an assertion, when you are validating that this is this, you have gone to that website and you want to write a code that will say, yes, I can confirm that, yes, I have been on this website. So you will now be writing your element that you assert that so thing match so thing, like yeah, that what you saw on the actual result has matched the expected result. Okay, that is when you use bool, right? So because here you want to say you assert that so 10 has matched so 10, you now use bool. Bool will now say is true or is false. So bool stores value with two stages, true or false. Okay, so now let's look at the syntax, okay, on how to store your values or your data, all right, in a container or in variables. So, and how do we do that? Right, how we do it is you will state the type of variable. Okay, for example, we want to choose int. Int is a type of variable. You can see you will state when you're looking at the syntax, right? You state the type, okay, of variable. You write the variable name, and you will give it, assign it a value. All right. So let's say, for example, 8, okay, is our type, and the variable name is age. Okay, and the value will be what? 50. Do you see how that is? It's very simple. Okay, we can do another one, another example using bool. You can
Sorry,
say,
say that again. Sorry.
yeah. So the syntax, okay, for storing values or data type in a variable is type, variable name, okay, variable name, and type variable name. 1 second, let me just move something that is blocking my view. Yes, yes, great. So now you can see the syntax is you put a type of variables, right? You assign a variable name to it, okay, and assign a value. So when you see types, types could either be int, double, char, string, bool. Okay, so variable name could be anything you choose to name that value, any name you choose to assign that value, assign to that data or that the value or the data, for example. Okay, so let's say I want to store your age. Let's say you are, 8 years. Let's say you are 50 years, right? And want to assign your age. You want to store your age. You want to store Chidi's age in a variable. Okay, so now we know that your age is 50. So what type of variable are we going to store your age in? The type of variable we'll store your age in is what? Chidi?
Integer.
Integer. That's absolutely correct.
Integer.
Int.
Int,
Don't
int.
write integer. Int. Because if you write integer, you throw it, it will throw an error. It's int.
Int.
Okay, you have your int, you now write int, and the variable name will be Chidi's age. Okay, that is what we'll put here. Here we'll put int, and here we'll say Chidi's age. Okay, and then we'll now assign, say equal to what? 50. Do not forget that every C# code ends with what? You can see semicolon. Okay, you end it with semicolon. Every line of code in C# ends with semicolon. I believe it's the same as Java. Yeah, it's the same as Java. Okay, so is that clear? So can you assign can you store Bona? Tell me how you will store Bona. Okay, in who would I ask? Vincent. Vincent, get ready. You can unmute yourself. So how would you assign? You haven't unmuted yourself. I want you to unmute before I ask you the question. Okay, you know what? Yes, thank you. So assign Bona. Store Bona in a variable. Tell me how you would do that.
Okay.
Bona.
If you want to assign Bona, the variable,
Yeah.
then you have to write the string, the variable type,
Yeah. And what is the variable type if you want to store Bona?
which is string.
String, absolutely.
But you have to make sure that the string, I don't know whether the string has to be capital letter.
No.
Or maybe sometimes this string it can either be a class or I'm confused about. Then you just write your string.
Yeah, you write your string. It will be a small letter.
Then the what you want to assign it to them. But if you're writing Bona, you have to put Bona in a quote.
In a double quotes.
In a double quote, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's how to do it. So string Bona is, remember when I talk of string, you use it to store text. Okay, so Bona is a test. All right, test. So you want to store bona, which is a test. The string type is the variable type is string, right? So you first of all write string, then you say my name, okay, equal to bona. Yeah, Vincent, you're raising your hand.
I was saying like,
Mhm.
is there no tool like you can use to be like writing with example on this board so that the
Yes,
people can see? I don't know if there's any tools or writing. I don't know. I'm just asking.
yes. We will write. Tomorrow is a workshop. Okay. So I want to run through it because we'll actually have quite a lot to cover. I want to drill it down to everything we need to know. Okay.
All
So
right.
that and relate it to the testing. As I'm saying it now, I'm relating it to testing. Okay, this is how you're going to use it instead of just coding. Okay,
Okay.
so
Okay.
tomorrow that we'll have our workshop, we'll get into our IDE, okay, Visual Studio, and we'll still do the same thing. That way it will assimilate, that way we will understand it, that way you'll ask your questions before we start doing our testing. Right? So if we go into Visual Studio, to start writing this, people might even get more confused. All right. Okay. So yeah. So that's it. Any question before we continue? No question. No question. So by tomorrow workshop, if we haven't, we'll give everyone a chance to download Visual Studio. Okay, so that the essence is I want us to cover as much as we can, and then we'll go into writing those codes on Visual Studio. Okay, because I don't want to be jumping from one screen to another, otherwise we'll get confused. All right. So like I said, I've told us how we can declare our variables, right? So to create a variable, you must specify the type and assign it a value, right? They are giving us the syntax where you put the type, you put the variable name, and then you give it a value. Before we go, Chidi, how do I assign A? How do I store A in a variable?
So you how you saw A.
So what you
We'll
can
use
you look at the
you
syntax, okay?
so
You
you
name
look at
the
it.
type. What type of variable can we use to store A?
Char.
Great. And then you can say the name, well, on top of your head, what kind of variable name do you want to give it? I want us to start thinking as developers. Um, yeah. A is what?
A A is char now. Is
So
it?
cha is, yes, well, A is not cha. So cha is,
Char.
okay, is a variable type that we can use to store a single character or a character.
Character.
Okay, so you can use char to store A, you can use char to store B, you can use char to store C, and note it doesn't matter. You can use char to store D, you can use char to store F, Z, you can use char to store it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so once you write the type as char, A is the first letter in an alphabet.
Okay.
Okay, you can just say first letter, or you can say first alphabet, or you can say my alphabet. So it's anything. Okay, then you
Okay.
cannot give it. Then you cannot give it. Who is this? Yeah. So then you cannot give it a value which is A. And just like Vincent mentioned, for string, right? For string, you have. I think I can write on this. Okay. So for A, let's say you have your type as char. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You have it as char. Okay. Then you have first. Okay. You have your first. What am I writing? First half. Okay. Will now be equal to, because the reason why I'm writing this is that I want to show you something. So this. Okay, so but for char, it would have a single quote.
Okay.
Okay, char would always have a single word quote. Okay, it will have a single quote, right? But like I said, the string doesn't have a single quote. Okay, so that is the difference. So, and Josh, I know you joined late. Okay, to store bool, to store true or false, I've given out the answer anyway. Josh, are you there? Okay, I think he's not here, right? To store true or false, who, Casey, well, this should be a piece of cake for you. Casey is also not here. So,
I'm here.
yeah, to store true or false,
Bull.
boom, boom. Yes, so that's it. Okay, so now let's progress. Thank you, everyone. I believe you've understood this. Okay, so now we want to go into data type, right? So recall that we've handled variable types. Okay, we also want to go into data types. What are the kind of data types that we have, right? So we have, it's also important to know the kind of data type that we have, right? So as I explained in the variable slide, okay, variable in C# must be a specific data type. Okay, a data type specify the size, all right? A data type specify the size and type, type of variables, right? A data type specifies the size and types of variables. So I have, done testing around API, and I realized that what I'm getting, like when I send the request, okay, the response, but the response that I'm getting, I'm seeing a number, I think about 8 point something something, and I have D on it. All right. And then when I flag that, okay, that I shouldn't be having D attached to it because that's not what I'm expecting. Right. So it happens that the developer that has done the code stored that value, okay, in a wrong, stored it in a wrong variable. So instead of the value coming back to me as float, right, just as an integer or something, it's coming back as a double, like it's coming back with D or something. So just something like that. That's why it's very important. Okay. So different type of data type that we have. We'll have the int. Okay. We'll have the int. I'll go. So don't get confused when I'm saying int again under data type. Okay. So we'll have the int. All right. So int stores whole number, as you know, and the size is 4 bits. So it stores whole number from, let's say, 2 billion minus 2 billion and 100 and something to plus to 2 point something billion, like 4 bits. Okay, so we'll have the next one, which is long, which stores 8 bits, So yeah, it's important to know this, to be honest, but so how does it affect our testing, basically? So it's important to know that yeah, we'll have this type of data type, but I would say the impact for your testing is not so much, but yeah, it's better you know the knowledge. So when you get or something like this, you would say, yeah, I can understand, and you can have conversation around it. Okay, so we'll have long. Okay, I've thought about int, I've thought about long. Okay, long holds 8 bits, it stores a whole number as well. Okay, long stores a whole number. Int stores a whole number, okay, with 4 bits. Long stores whole number, okay, 8 bits. Float stores fractional number, okay, like decimal digits up to 6 to 7 decimal digits. Okay, we have double, which is about 8 bits, stores fractional number sufficient for storing 15 decimal place. So, like what I was saying with my analogy, this thing that I got. So that value was supposed to be a float because it was about 7 digits. Do you understand? So, but I think the developer studied with double. So that was why I was getting that D on it. So we'll have the next one, which is float. Okay, floats. Okay, I've talked about float, I've talked about double. The next one is bool. Bool stores 1 bit, and that 1 bit is either true or it's false value. So char stores 2 bits, okay, which is a single character or a letter surrounded by what? Single quotes. And we'll have string, which stores 2 bits, a character. It stores a sequence of characters surrounded by double quotes. All right, I believe this will help solidify what will learn from the variables as well. Okay, so now let's progress into conditional statement. What we'll do all these things. Okay, we'll do all of it. You'll see the code. You can see you're seeing the code snippet. It's an easier way to have a first view of it. Okay, if it's your first time, it's an easier way, because when we get into Visual Studio, you could be seeing other things, and it might be a bit overwhelming, especially if this is your first time seeing C# codes. Okay, or these very simple C# codes. So that's why we've decided to introduce it this way. Okay, so we are talking about conditional statements in C#. So what are conditional statements in C#? So conditional statements in C# are constructs, right, that allows you to control the flow of execution based on certain conditions. Let me explain it. Okay, so now when you have conditional statements, it allows you to decide which code, or if a particular condition is met, okay, which code you want it to execute, or you want when your code is running, which one do you want to execute first, right? So we'll have different kind of, conditional statements, right? So we'll have the if statement, we'll have the else statement, we'll have the else if statement, and we'll have the switch statement, right? So you use a couple of them. You use the switch statement quite a lot as you advance. Okay, you use if statement as well, you use else statement, you use else if statement as well as you advance. Okay, so we'll show you the code snippets of all these statements, and then you can now know how it's been worked, how it's worked, and then going forward you'll be able to write them. Okay, especially when you start using it for automated tests. So the if statement executes a block of code if a specified condition is true, right? So let's say we'll have if 20 is greater than 18, print true, or print 20 is greater than. So you write either 20 is less than or greater than. So once you do that, once that condition is true, it will print what you want it to print. And I will show you the code at the end of this slide, after this slide. So the next one we'll have is the else statement, right? So what does the else statement do? The else statement executes a block of code if the same condition is false. Okay, so now if A is greater than, if truly from what you've written, A is greater than 20 is greater than 18, it prints true. But if 20 is not greater than 18, or 20 is less than 18, right, that is when the else will come in, right? So it will print the other one. That's why if this is this, else print the other one. Okay, so we'll have the else if statement. We specify a new condition to test or to run if the first condition is false. Okay, so the else if statement allow you to check multiple conditions in a sequence. So it checks the first one, all right? If it's false, it checks the second one, okay? And then it runs the right one that is meant to run, okay? So then we'll look at all these things in the code. Like I said, it's a bit, when you start your testing, at first, you wouldn't, unless you are testing some very important, or some not necessarily important, but some functionalities, right, that will enable you run this. But trust me, at the very initial stage, you might not have, the need to write some of these conditional statements. But as you progress it, you begin to understand it, and you begin to use it as well for your automated testing. But it's important you know it. It's important you understand it. So when you use it, you're able to understand it as well. Okay. Then we'll have our switch statement as well. So the switch statement specify any alternative block of code to be executed. Okay, so you have different codes, right? So the switch statement, you keep switching, all right, until you get to the point, the one you want it to execute, you will execute and you will exit, right? Cool. So let's look at some of the code snippets, and that would help us understand what we're saying. So the if statement, this is how it's being written. You can see the if statement. Okay, so we'll have this if 20 okay, is greater than 18, console.WriteLine. Like I say, console.WriteLine is used to print. Okay, so 20 is greater than 18. So because if you run this code, because 20 is greater than 18, it's going to print this for you. It's going to print 20 is greater than 18 for you. Okay, so let's go to the next one to see example of else statements. Okay, so now on this, you will have the else statements. Okay, we'll have, which is the first one, int. You can see how this time is being declared, right? So like I said, whatever we do, by the time you get into another code and look at it, you will understand it. You can see, so this is because 20 is an int, is a whole number, right? So the variable type is int. Okay, you can see how it is written. And because it's time, they store it with time equal to 20, right? So now the next, if time is less than 18, okay, console, this is the first if, and then you can see else. Okay, so if time is less than 18, console.WriteLine, good day, right? So this is an if. The first one is an if statement, right? But as you can see, the time that is stored in this variable, right, is 20. Okay, so is the time is not less than 18, is he going to print good day? Is he going to print good day? Anybody?
Yes.
Is he going to print good day?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because time is sorry. No, I'm going to put good evening. 20 is not less than 18.
Yes, 20 is not. So because it will check, well done, Casey. Because it has checked, okay, 20, the time is not less, so which is the 20? So the time is not less than 18 because the time is 20. It would skip this one. It wouldn't print this one. It wouldn't execute this if statement. It will come to the S, okay? It will come to else and print good evening because, so what this block of code says, it has already stated, right, that time is 20. Okay, then the statement, this conditional statement is now saying if time is less than 18, okay, console.WriteLine, which is print out good day, else print out. So anytime that the time is not equal to 20, it will print good. Anytime that the time is, not equal to 20, it will print what? Good evening. Does that make sense? So that is to say, no, what I mean to say is anytime the time is not less than, or the time is less than 18, sorry. Anytime that the time is less than 18, it prints good evening. All right. So that is it. You can see the output is good evening. Don't worry, we'll run it and you will see it for yourself. All right. So, yes, Vincent.
Okay, like in this code now,
Yeah.
and the first one is like, is it the initialization, right? Like to
Yeah.
initial to make time, like time is equal to 20.
Yeah.
Then anything that is not equal to 20, it will print uh anything that is not equal to 20, it will print good day, right?
So now,
Sorry, anything that is not equal to 20, it will print good evening. Then if
yes.
it is equal to 20, it will
So,
print good day.
so now, yeah. So now, yeah, the first code that we'll have here, okay, this first code is where the variable was declared. Okay, you can see the variable was declared and the time was 20. So what's because they have declared the variable that the time is 20, right? So what depends on which of this code to run depends on the condition. Do you get what I'm saying? It depends on the condition, right? So the condition here says time is less than 20, is less than 18, right? So if time is less than 18, let's say if we say if time is equal to 20, console.WriteLine, good day, else console.WriteLine, good evening. Which one would execute? The first one, because the condition is true. That's why it will execute this. Do you get what I'm saying? So whichever line of code that would be executed depends on the condition here. It depends on the condition here, right? And then in line with the variable here. Is that clear, Vincent? Did that answer your question?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
What if what if the time is like maybe the time is greater than 20?
So if the time is greater than
If
20,
it's not if it's like time, maybe something that is good that is not equal to 20, maybe something that maybe time is 21.
so if the time is 21, right? So if the time is 21, right? So it depends on what we want it to print,
Okay.
right? It depends on what we want to print. We want it to print. If we say if time is greater than 21, console.writeLine, good afternoon, good day, else good evening, right? It will print else because time is not, okay, yeah. So if we say if time is greater, if we say if time is greater than 221, it will print good day because time is equal to this, okay? So it will print good day, isn't it?
Okay.
Right? Because time is equal to this.
21 because
Time is
there's no condition.
time
Yeah.
is yeah, time is equal to 21, right? So
If you create another if,
so the time is
just not
equal to 21. Okay, so if we say if time is greater than 21, the time is equal to 20. If we say if time is greater than 21, right? Console.writeLine good day, else this. So because time is less than 21, because time is equal to 20, I don't know if you're getting it. That is why it's conditional statement. You need to think it through very well, right? So yeah, I think someone okay. So are you getting my point? Right? So now time is this is it. So time tomorrow we'll run it and you'll see what it gives. Right? Time is equal to 20. That means it's not greater than 21. So if we come here under the condition and say if time, right, is greater than 21, right, console.writeLine good day else this, it will print the else because time is not greater than 21, time is 20. Does that make sense? Hello, Vincent, does that make sense?
yes, yes. I'm using the chat this day. Yes.
You're using okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay, okay,
I'm
okay.
just responding on the chat.
Okay. I'll send that now. Yeah. All right. So Chid, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Did you get this?
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of. Okay. Don't worry.
This is my first time, So
Yes. So that's why I haven't gone on Visual Studio. Okay, so I just want to use this so that you will see this and just look at, see that this is what we're talking about. We've gone through this, which is to declare our variable. We've declared our variable, and then we're using the conditional statements now. If this is this, it's just like, given a condition, you're sending someone to an errand, and you're saying, yeah, go to the shop. If you go to Sainsbury and you see Sainsbury milk, please get one. But if you haven't seen Sainsbury milk, please go to Tesco. It's just that. It's just it, right? So that's it. Just go to this. If this is not here, do the other one. That's what it is. So you are declaring, I need Sainsbury milk. If you see Sainsbury milk, get it. Else, get me Tesco milk. So I'll say, all right. So yeah, let's go to the next one, which is the else if statement. Okay, the else if statements. So the else if statement. The sole purpose of today's class is not to start, coding away or start writing it, right? So before you're able to start writing, you should understand some of these things. You should get used to the variables. You should get used to, some of these things that we're doing, the console.writeLine, what variable, declaring your variable, right? And most of this, knowing that, okay, your variable, your int, your variable type, your data type, then when we are talking about it, when you are writing, you will start speaking the language, you would follow and understand it. Okay, so now the next one we want to have a look is the else if statements. Okay, so you can see we've initialized the variable as int time equal to 22. Okay, take note. I want you to take note of all these things. You can see once they finish writing, a particular line of code, they have your semicolon. Okay, if you don't put your semicolon, you'll see error. Right, and you'll be wondering, what have I missed? What have I not done right? It's because you haven't added your semicolon. You haven't completed your curly braces. Right. So now we'll have the int time equal to 20. So we'll have the if time is less than 10, of which you know that time is not less than 10. Right. So are you expecting good morning to be printed out? No. You can use the comment section. No, because time is not less than what? 22. Right. Else, if time is greater than 20, print good day. Would they print good day? No, because time is not, okay, less than 20. Time is not less than 20. Else, okay, so these two conditions has not been met. The if statement and the else if statement. Else, console.writeLine, good evening. So once these two conditions are not met, your code will execute this one. This code will be executed and will print good evening for you. Okay, so now let's go to the switch statements. Okay, so I hope it's not getting more complicated as we go ahead. So now we are talking about the switch statements. Okay, so just look at the code properly. Look at it properly. Okay, so there are a few things I want you to take note of when you're writing your switch statement. This is called switch statement. Okay, those few things I want you to take note of is, right, as you can see, variable, okay, was declared. You can see this, you have int date 4, right, equal to 4. So they now start the switch statement. You start your switch statement by this keyword, switch, and then you can put what you want to put. You can say date of birth. So you can come here. Let's look at this one, and then we can, switch it to date of birth. Okay, tomorrow we'll do more of that, basically. So yeah, we'll have the int day equal to 4. Right, so we want to use our switch statement. So this thing is practically saying that go through this code. When you're executing this code, go through this code. Okay, when day is equal to 4, print it, console.writeLine the day. Right, so we'll have, this is the variable that has been declared. Okay, so we'll have our switch statement, which is day, and then we'll start having, or have your curly braces. This is how to write it. Okay, you now have your curly braces. You have your curly braces. You will write you have a way to do it is you don't just write your curly braces and then when you finish writing this, before you put your curly braces. So once you've declared it, the day, you write your switch and then in bracket day, you put your curly braces open and close. Then inside the curly braces is where you start writing your code. Okay, you now write your first case 1, put your dot, okay, and then console.writeLine Monday. So if the day is 1, right, the day is 1, which is the first one, case 1. Assuming we say day equal to 1 here, it will print Monday for us. Okay, because the condition, we've declared that the day is equal to 1. But for here, they say the day is 1. So this code will come, it will not execute this on break. That's why you have case, the line of code you want to execute, and then you put break with your semicolon. You put the second case, okay? Write the code you want it to execute, you put break, the third, until you are done all the possible scenarios you want it to execute, right, is done. Okay, so once this condition is being met, the condition stated here that you initialize here, once it's been met, it will execute that block of code. Okay, so because it's 4 here, this is the one it will execute. It will print this one, which is inside here, which is what? Tuesday, day 4. Okay, so let's assume okay, let's say we'll have int day to be 2. Tell me which day of the week would it execute?
Tuesday.
Correct, absolutely. Josh is not with us here. Vincent, if the day that we declared here is what? Is 6. What day would it execute? Vincent, are you with us? No. Okay. So Casey, if we have 5 here declared here, what day would it print for us? Are you with us?
I'm here.
Yeah. What day?
It's 5. Mm-hmm.
5. Great, great stuff. Great, absolutely. Okay, so that is it. Okay, on how to write your switch statement. You can say, okay, so this is way that you can do it. Okay, just typical this way. The only thing that need to be that I need to change is what you've initialized at first, or the code, that you want it to execute. So let's say the logic you want it to execute. Okay, so let me run you through how it works again. Okay, the switch expression is evaluated once. Okay, so once the switch expression is evaluated, the value of the expression is compared with the value of each case. If there is a match, the associated block of code is what's executed. Right, so the code will come. All right, look at this. Okay, then look at this. Right, and then it start going through this. It goes to this. Has it matched? No, because this is the 1. Right, it goes to this one. Has it matched? No. 2. It goes to this one. Has it matched? 3. It goes to this one. Once it has matched, it's jump off and then points. It wouldn't go to the rest of the code. Okay, that's how it does. We'll see it when we write this. We'll debug it. We'll run it on debug mode. You see how it will just exit. Okay, and going to the next one, where we'll have our class and objects. Okay, we want to go into class and objects. Right. Now, what is a class? Okay, in C#, a class is a blueprint for creating objects. Okay, it is a fundamental concept in object-oriented programming, OOP. Right, go read up about OOP as well. Okay, so and serves as a template. So the class serves as a template for creating instance and objects of that class. Okay, so a class defines the properties. Okay, it defines the properties, which in brackets is the attribute, and behaviors, which in brackets is a method that each object will have. Initially, when we started this class, we showed syntax of C# syntax, and we'll have the name, we'll have the using, we'll have the namespace, and we'll have the class. And inside the class, we'll have the attributes, right? We'll have the attributes inside it, where we'll have some other properties, and we'll also have method inside it. Okay, so the class is what defines those things. So you can't have those attributes, you can't have the method without the class, and I believe we said it that time. So for example, I want to create a class called objects, a class called car. We want to create a class called car. Okay, how do you do that? To create a class, you use this keyword class. Okay, you use this keyword class, and then you now write the name. Okay, you now write the name. Okay, car. Let's say we want to say birthday. We want to create a birthday class. We'll also use the name class, and we can now put birthday. We can now write birthday, and then open and close curly braces. Then we can now write string, bona birthday, or int, because my birthday will, depending on how I want to write. If I just, okay, birthday will be string, because I might say 15th September or whatever. But if I want to say, let's say age, so we want to create a class called age. How do we do that? If we want to create a class called age, right? We can now just go and write our class, okay, and then call it age. All right, then we'll have our curly braces. I'm able to do curly braces. Yes, and then I can now say int, okay, bona age. You can see those things that we did, bona age, those things that we did equal to what? I want to say equal to 15. That's my age. Okay, equal to 15. So those things that we did earlier, you can see they are not adding up, they are not coming together, right? They are not making sense. Can you say they are not making sense? Okay, so note that when a variable is declared directly inside an object, it is often referred to as a field or attribute. Okay, so when a variable, you can see this variable that is being declared, right? You can see the variable. So all these things that we're doing, they are not adding up. That's why we've decided to do it one after the other, one after the other. Okay, yeah, we're doing it one after the other because they will be adding up. Okay, so these are now what is called the field or the variables, the attributes, right? So this is the attribute of this class. Okay, is this understood before we go into creating an object? Is this understood? Any question? All these things will be making sense. If it's your first time, look at it, get the structure, get the word, get how it's been called, note everything we are saying. They would be making sense over time. Right? Shall we continue? No comments.
Yes.
Good. Che,
Continue.
does this make sense? Let me recap.
Yeah.
You want to create a class. You use. So note it, because when the time comes, you create a class and you use it for your automated test. You have your step definition class, you have your page object class. Okay. So if you want to create it, you start with class. And then you write class page object. Okay. Class step definition. Class your scroll. Class, you want to scroll the web page and you want to save it in a class. Okay, you put just class, scroll. You can put wait. You want your web driver to wait before it goes on and execute. You put class time or wait time or class wait, and then put the attributes or the field, anything you want to put it in a curly braces. You will say it. Just look at it and say, okay, this is how it's been done. So if I want to write a class, I go with the keyword class, and then I put the name, right? And then I start with open brackets and whatever. Oh, this is how it's been done. Creating a class, this is how it's been done. That is how to learn it. All right? Good. So, going to the next page, we want to look at what object is. Okay? We want to look at creating object of a class. Okay? Note that once you want to create an object of a class, or let's say like I said initially, that the class, right, will have its attributes. Okay, and it has its what method, right? And you can create an object of a class inside a class. Okay, now to create an object of a car, we'll have a class. Look at this. We'll have a class called car. Okay, and we have declared, initialize our variable, saying that string color equal to red. Okay, and we'll have this method here. Okay, and then we want to, under this method, okay, we want to create the object of this class. And how do we do it? We'll call the class name. This is how to do it. Take note of what I'm doing. You call the class name. This is a class name car. You call the class name car, and then you assign it any name you want to assign it. You can even assign it a name car, but you will have to write it with small letter. Okay, you assign it any name you want to assign it. You can assign it my object, you can assign it my car, you can assign it anything, any name equal to new. You must use the keyword new. Open and close brackets and semicolon. This is the standard. Okay, this is how to do it. Are you with me? This is the standard. This is how to do it. And then when you now want to print the code, you can now say console.writeLine. You call the object, right, my car, and you put the dot, right, and then you can now call what variable that you've stored here. Note that by initializing this variable, you are now saying that once you are now storing red inside this color. Okay, so once you've initialized it, once you've called this and put dot color, what will get printed out is what? Red, because you've now stored red on inside this color. Is that understood? Is that understood? So, and take note of the dots here. All right. So this dot is what will use to access the variables. Is what you use to access the variable or the field inside this object, inside this, right, inside the column. Is this understood? I believe that by the time you do this over and over and over again, you will get it. Okay, Casey, is this understood? Oh, Casey, okay, Casey is not here. Vincent, is this understood? Chede?
Yes, yes, yes. I've come across this.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, great. Great, good. All right, so we proceed. Okay, now the next thing we want to look at is method. We want to look at method, what a method is. Okay, a method is a block of code which only runs when it is what's called. When you're writing your automated test, you'll be calling method. In fact, each step, when you write a method, you write a method, okay, on your page object, and you come to your step definition and call it. And once you call it your step definition, that your line of code would run. Whatever command, whatever logic you've written there will run. Method, very important. So if you don't understand it the way I'm explaining it, this method now, you're going to be doing it. Anytime you are running, anytime you have a step, you will call your method. Okay, you will get to do it over and over and over and over again. And at some point, you won't even know that you are, calling your method. You just get used to it. Basically, you just get used to it. So that's what I'm going to tell you. Okay, so that's it. So for example, right, the syntax, obviously, you have a class, program class, you have your static, void, main method. And like I said, how we used to know a method is that it has this open and close brackets, okay, at the end of any method, open and close brackets. So if you want to run anything inside this method, you need to call the method name, okay? So in our next slide, you will see what I mean by that. Okay, like I said, a method, you call a method, okay, to run before you run a code or what is inside it. All right, to call or to execute, when I say call or to execute a method, right? So you write the method name followed by your by two parentheses, which is open and close bracket and a semicolon. Okay, so if you look at this now, okay, so we haven't added class to this, okay? You have your static void main method. So this is your method, okay? And then you have console.writeLine this. So when you're under this method now, you want to run it, okay? This is your main method. When you call this, okay? So for this to execute, right, it will now, because you've called this method, it will execute this, okay? Because you've called it here, when you run it, it will execute. It will execute this line, which is printing this I just got executed on your console app. Okay, so but this is how you can use it for developing when you want to view something. But for testing, we'll show you how you can use it. Like I just said it earlier, you write your step definition, you write your page object. For that step to run, you come to your page object and call your method. If you don't call your method, it won't run. Once you call your method, it's going to run, and we'll show you how to do that as well. All right, so just bear in mind that for your any method to run, okay, you have to call it. Right, and I will see a lot of you will do that. You've done your step definition. That is the essence of me saying this. You have done your step definition, right, and you will forget to call your method. And then, before you know it, you will say, I don't understand why my code is not working. I don't understand why this is my test is not executing. And I will go to your step definition, you haven't called your method. And note that it's in C#, it's always a good practice to start your method with what? Uppercase. As you can see here, I have it with uppercase, my method. You can see main as uppercase. Okay, you can see this method when you're writing your method, always with uppercase. Okay, when you're writing your variable, you can see we're always doing that with lowercase. Okay, so it's always important. Right. So now we are going into a different thing that you will also get used to, and you will also get used a lot, which is called the access modifiers. Okay, access modifiers. So you will see access modifiers a lot. You will see, in fact, when you are writing your automated test, if you can see that yesterday, what I showed you yesterday, right? You saw a lot of public class, private, public class, private. In fact, you use a lot of public, public, public. Okay, so that thing you were seeing yesterday, the public stuff you were seeing yesterday that is the public stuff you were seeing yesterday is what is called access modifier. And what are these access modifiers? So in C#, access modifier is a keyword that determines the visibility and accessibility. Yeah. So access modifier in C#, okay, are keywords that determine the visibility and accessibility of classes, methods, field, and other member within a program. Okay, so you use access modifier. So when you have used a private access modifier, let's say you use private, void, or you say private, class this, okay, it gets restricted because it's private, as the name is. But when you use a modifier, an access modifier, public, it becomes public. Okay, it will be every other class can see it and interact and access it. You will see all these things coming into play. So this is a very important class. It will feel as if it's a whole lot. We are not making a lot of sense out of it, right? But when you start practicing, when you start writing your code, all this things will start making sense. And if you start writing your code, your automated test, without knowing this thing, you'll just be writing it and you will not understand the reason why you are doing it. Okay, so now you can see, let's say, for example, your step definition is a private class, right? Or the method is private. You have the method is for you use private, you will not, or that method will not see it, right? When you go to your step definition, it will not be seen. You cannot call it on your step definition because it's private. But when it's public, you can access it. That is why it's called access modifier, right? It's visible and accessible, okay, for other class and method and fields. Okay, so the main access modifiers in C# are the public, private, protected, and internal. Okay, we'll have other ones, right, like protected, internal, right? So now, what is the public, right? The codes in the public class, public method, will be accessible for all other classes. So all other classes can interact, with that class that is denoted as public. As a matter of fact, even our host class, because we want our host or base class or global class to interact with, our step definition, our feature file, and every other class that we have defined within our code, within our automated script, we always use a public class for that. Okay, we always use a public class. So anything you want, if you have your, let's say you have your data that you don't want any other code to access, you use private, because for private class, okay, every other class within that, every other class outside that class will not access it. Okay, so the code is only accessible within the same class. So every other code, let's say you've written a line of code and you want to access it and you use private, you won't access it because, as the name has mentioned, is private. So talking about protected, the code is accessible within the same class, or in the class that is inherited from that class, right? So you will see when you use protected, you can use protected, right? Most often we'll usually use public and private. You also have internal, right? For knowledge sake, you have the internal, the code, right? So the code and the internal class is only accessible within its own assembly, okay, but not from another assembly. So it's just within its own assembly that you can access when you use internal. You can as well use that if you want, if you suit what you're doing. But like I said, we always mostly use private and public. Okay, unless need be. Okay, any question?